Election 2011 coverage on Manx Radio.
Well, this morning, Douglas councillor who's going for a place in the Keys in Douglas East, 42-year-old Richard-Kissack, married, 4 children, been a councillor since 2008, runs a recruitment agency, was a Lib Van until he resigned. Good morning, Mr. Kissack.
Good morning, John.
Thank you for joining us. We should elect representatives with strength of character and resourcefulness, ensure that freedom and truth are defended vigorously. Are you just such a man?
I think so. I believe I can do that.
So, in your time so far with the council, can you give us instances where you've pushed cases forward which you think are right?
Probably not in public, no.
Oh, right.
I've fought...
What, you mean behind the scenes you've done?
Yes, yes. Yeah.
Well, shouldn't these things be out in the open so people know what a good job you're doing?
Not always, no. Sometimes it's better to have a quiet word or send an email or a letter and deal with it behind closed doors and not necessarily air all the dirty linen in public.
Infrastructure improvements have proven to be fundamentally flawed, this as far as the government is concerned. Which ones are you talking about?
Well, I believe that the strategic basing of our power generation upon gas is flawed, and I also believe that pumping all our sewage to one treatment location is fundamentally flawed as well. I
mean, the obvious alternative to gas was to use oil, which is very expensive. Gas is slightly less expensive.
I don't believe that to be the case at all.
Do you have a background in it? Do you know this for certain?
Well, my degree is in chemical engineering, so...
So what would be the alternative?
Well, oil.
Oil, back to oil.
Yes, yes.
And obviously we've got wind farms possibly being set off on the south coast and also on the west coast of Ireland, which we could tap into. Would that be a better way ahead?
Well, I believe every renewable source should be utilised that's available. I can't see any reason why the Isle of Man isn't an energy exporter. I have a gut feel that we could do that in 10, 15 years.
Freedom of information, you're keen on that coming in?
Yes, I'm very keen on that.
Which mean everything being exposed, the council ministers' minutes, everything that's discussed be exposed, and this argument of commercial confidentiality be put to one side?
Well, I think that over the last few years, government has gone mad with the Data Protection Act, health and safety, and child protection. And I think this has mushroomed into a point where some government departments have become like Frankenstein's monster, and we need to knock it back a bit. And in order to do that, we need to build up the media and freedom of information, because at the end of the day, it's accountability to people that needs to be the case.
But you'd say that data protection is quite important for people to protect their...
Well, in practice it is. In my opinion, it's restricted protection for people rather than protected anybody.
I suppose that leads us on to another phrase of yours, preventing state interference in people's lives.
Yes.
Amongst your priorities. What do you mean by that? State interference?
I think that there are one of the things in social care, especially children's social care, I think that there are a lot of cases that worry me. What particularly worries me is the fact that after the murders of Samantha Barton and George Green, there was a report into that, and there were recommendations to have external reviews of children in social care, and that hasn't happened.
But that would be, I mean, they're looking to actually take more of a hand in people's lives, I suppose, in that way, aren't they? They're looking to tighten up on control so this doesn't happen again. Would you rate that as interference?
Well, those children were in state care when they were murdered.
So the state should have taken better care of them?
No. Well, certainly George Green should have been with his parents, I think.
You've been going around Douglas East, knocking on doors, presumably?
Yes.
So
yes.
What are their concerns?
There's a massive variation in concern. One of the aspects that I wasn't aware of before I went round knocking on doors is the extent of apathy among some people in our society, that they feel that they can't do anything, and anything that they do won't make a difference to their life. They don't feel that voting can
make any difference?
Yeah.
So how do you were you able to persuade any of those people that voting will make a difference?
Well, I think that the structure of our society is wrong. One of the particularly heart-wrenching chaps that I spoke to had a regular job, he had a regular flat, but he didn't feel that he could ever get on the property ladder.
So he's going to have to do without a home. And he,
Well, I think
he accepted that.
I think that's wrong.
had he accepted that?
Well, he has, yes.
We'll have to stop there. Richard-Kissack, the candidate for East Douglas in the forthcoming by-election. Thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Okay.